Lyrics to go. I have a song here by Lou Reed.
Oh, yeah.
Which, I mean, it's possible you know this album very well. He made an album called Magic and Loss in 1992,
No.
which is about the death of a friend of his to cancer.
Okay.
And it's a song cycle. It goes through a whole process, diagnosis, treatment, funeral, cremation, and grief. And the song is called Sword of Damocles.
I see the sword of Damocles is right above your head. They're trying a new treatment to get you out of bed. But radiation kills both bad and good, it cannot differentiate. So to kill you, they must kill you. The sword of Damocles hangs above your head. I've seen lots of people die from car crashes or drugs. Last night on 33rd Street I saw a kid get hit by a bus. But this drawn out torture over which part of you lives is very hard to take. To kill you, they must kill you. The sword of Damocles above your head.
So I figured you might know something about the world of this.
I do. Yeah. Yeah, I saw it a lot. Yeah. It's unfaithful in one detail that I noticed. And the good guys don't always win. I think that was the phrase.
That mix of morphine and dexedrine, we use it on the street. It kills the pain and keeps you up, your very soul to keep. But this guessing game has its own rules, the good don't always win. And might makes right, the sword of Damocles is hanging above your head.
The good don't always win, yeah.
That's it, yeah. Nobody wins.
Right.
Nobody.
He means live.
Yeah, I know, but nobody does that either. By which I mean, of course, that there's a limit, and the frailty is God's idea of mercy.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a bit of a war on, obviously there's a war on intervention in the song, but there's a kind of, there could be understood to be an intolerance about infirmity that kind of dances at the edge of the song too. Yeah. And dexedrine or not, that shit will be there. Mm-hmm. Right. And the real question, I'm speaking like a know-it-all on the matter, I guess, but I did see a lot, and I can't blink with what I saw. There's something, what it asks of us, the grim demise of a fellow human being is practice. There's nothing prurient about that. That's true. How can you get it right? But that you attend to the death of others, So the portrayal here, I mean, it would have been something. It's not for me to rewrite the song. I'm just saying there would have been something to be had if somewhere in there could have been evoked in half a line, the parallel universe called Dine's The Deal. Yeah. Now you could say it's there by virtue of it never appearing.
No, I think its absence is important because the album in some ways is a song cycle, which means it's a story. And elsewhere on the album, he excoriates himself for not being up to the task. Right. And he talks about how disappointed his friend would be in him. He feels unequal to this obligation that you're speaking of, or the opportunity, however you want to look at it, to practice. And so that's why I don't require of a song like this that it get it right, because you're talking about a faltering human being who himself has has lived that morphine dexedrine life on the street and is not fully he was not ready for this at all.
Right.
And of course, Lou Reed passed away not too long ago.
So the thing is that's interesting is you grow up from when you're a peanut listening to rhythm. And that's why we love it's so simple. But then there are nature sounds that are the sound of the wind, the sound of love.
I have a Lou Reed PS story, actually.
I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, it's brief. I'm teaching in somewhere in Southern California at the site of one of those old mission schools that they made for their equivalent of the residential school, I suppose. Mm-hmm. And all the buildings are still there, but that shit was grim, man. It was really, there was a lot of shadows and a lot of ghosts, no? Mm-hmm. And I'm supposed to give forth on what we're talking about now in this place, and there's hundreds of people there. And there's a Save the Whales or something demonstration going on in the public square just on the other side, where it would have gone down in the old days. And they had to get them to change everything so we could be heard. And so everything was waiting and delayed. And the beginnings were all askew. And it, dramatically, it's not a very promising situation to occupy, right? So at the break, anyway, I did what I could do. At the break, somebody came up to me and he said, I think you might want to see this. And he showed me his phone. I said, I'm not sure I want to look at your phone, but why don't you tell me what you want me to know? And he said, well, I texted a good friend of mine whose husband died really recently, that I was sitting here listening to you. And Laurie Anderson wrote back and she said, I've heard of the guy. I hope it goes well, or something of that kind. So that's as close as I got. That's my only Lou Reed story, and that's at a bit of a distance. But it was it's kind of affirmation,
Isn't that verbatim what Ram Dass said about you, but in a different tone?
No, he said, I can't believe you're trotting this one out. He said something in the order of,
I read it.
I don't like him.
I read him. I don't like him. Yeah, that's great.
No, it was he'd seen the Griefwalker film, and
right.
Based on that, he decided that I wasn't his cup of mescaline or whatever he did.
Do we have time for one more?
Sir, I do.
Okay, great. I'm going to play you a song in French. How's your French? I've got English subtitles here, but just curious.
It's cereal box French. Nothing to brag about.
All right. This is Jacques Brel. And it's called Les Vieux, which is the old folks. And do you know it?
I don't think so. Not yet.
Okay. I first heard it in English. The Jacques Brel's songbook was translated. Much of it was translated and turned into an off-Broadway show called Jacques Brel is Alive and Well and Living in Paris. And obviously that was like in the 60s or 70s or something. And then it was revived in New York several times. I saw a revival in 2005, 2006, which blew my mind. I couldn't believe how good these songs were and how well conceived the show was and how good the translations were. Anyway, so I first heard this song sung by a New York actress named Natasha Diaz, who's become a friend of mine since. She did a beautiful job. I was transfixed by it.
The old folks don't talk much, and they talk so slowly when they do. They are rich, they are poor, their illusions are gone. They share one heart for two. Their homes all smell of time, of old photographs and an old-fashioned song.
Though you may live in town, you live so far away. When you live too long, and have they laughed too much? Do their dry voices crack, talking of times gone by? And have they cried too much?
A tear or two
A tear
still
or
always
two.
seems to cloud the eye. They tremble as they watch the old silver clock when day is through. Tick-tock so slow. It says yes, it says no. It says, I wait for you.
And then recently I went and listened to the French version. And what I'm curious about, I'm not going to set it up too much because I just want to get your unfiltered reaction, but I have a mixed reaction to it. And obviously, if the previous song, if the Lou Reed song, points to one of your books, Die Wise, this one points to the more recent one, Come of Age. And I'd just be curious to know what your response is to that.
Okay.
Les vieux ne rêvent plus, leurs livres sans sommeil, leurs pianos sont fermés. Le petit chat est mort, le muscat du dimanche ne les fait plus chanter. Les vieux ne bougent plus, leurs gestes ont trop de rides, leur monde est trop petit. Du lit à la fenêtre, puis du lit au fauteuil, puis du lit au lit. Et s'ils sortent encore, bras dessus, bras dessous, tout habillés de raide, c'est pour suivre au soleil l'enterrement d'un plus vieux, l'enterrement d'une plus laide, et le temps d'un sanglot, oublier toute une heure la pendule d'argent qui ronronne au salon, qui dit oui, qui dit non, et puis qui les attend.
Les pensées.
Man, well, I know I have at least one brother in arms that I wasn't as alert to as I should have been. And it diminishes my solitude immediately. Yeah. Oh, no, that's really something. I think about when I've stood on the stage as I watched that with the band behind, doing, and knowing that I was not occupying the place as fully as I could have, being so timid in the matter. And then I see that, so unproduced and unelaborated and so on, and so masterfully done. And the only change I would have made had he wrote to me and said, what do you think? Would have been, the thing about the clock. Yeah. This thing about I'm waiting for you. I get the idea of waiting, but I'm not sure it's as accurate. It doesn't look like what I saw. Well, what did you see? Well, I saw something that's not in the future. Oh, you mean people are dying imminently? No, I mean the ending of their lives that you're articulating so well is there with them now. It doesn't require diminishment. It doesn't require a terminal diagnosis. It doesn't require really anything at all. It's I'm here with you now, not I'm waiting for you.
Which doesn't mean you're dying now.
No, in fact, you're probably not. Your death is your companion, and it turns into a ghost or a plague at your insistence. Because it's not it's not in the nature of your death to haunt you. It's in the nature of your death to be a companion to you.
Well, you call it a god.
Yeah, also a god, correct.
Yeah, having God as a companion. Talk about Jesus in the, Jesus until Jesus takes the wheel.
That's right.
So here was my mixed reaction to it. I guess maybe because I first heard the English version, especially with the arrangement. And this is what made me think of Come of Age, your book. There's something almost cutesy about it.
Yeah.
Like, look at them doddering away. Look at them, incapacitated, invalid, and invalid. And I've been saving that one for you. I wonder if you ever noticed that. Yeah. And I can't tell if I couldn't tell, at least in the English version, whether we're saying this is the way old people are, and isn't it adorable / pathetic, but in the Greek sense, and that's how we will all be, and that's the way it is. Or is it, look at what our culture produces, because this is not necessarily how age needs to look. Or is it both, or is it neither? And I was left very unsettled by the song somehow.
Yeah, understandably so. I think properly so, largely because the posture of the song exempts the singer to a high degree from the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, right? He's registering them, but not the mandatory inference is not quite there. If it was, if he inhabited, this is in no way meant to denigrate the achievement of the song. It's remarkable. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but we're cheering the song along here with what we're saying, I think.
Yes.
That if he had inhabited the denouement that the song articulates, the notion of shabby and other kind of similar aspersions might have been traded in for something a little more faithful to the interior condition. And this is where your observation that this is a culturally wrought reluctance to join the time parade, right? Because look what it makes of us.
Yeah.
Well, this is only true in a culture that has no need or regard or use or time for anything that can't keep up.
Yeah.
See, so that's where the darkness, if you will, to my mind comes. It's if only the critique could have rotated a bit, some degrees, and looked over its shoulder at the dismissive culture.
Yeah.
Rather than at the doddering old people who can't keep up.
Well, and this is the line that Brel walks. He is. There is social criticism in his stuff, but he's not Phil Oakes. He's he's very faithful to a theatrical moment, a single point of view taken through, and there's no. And the moral of the story is, and a lot of his songs leave you with that unsettled feeling, and then add to the fact that he's so committed to the bit. Right. He's so in character when he sings, and you can't quite see, and not in the way that Bob Dylan is, where he's putting on voices and trying out different things. He's an actor. He's a clown. He's a tragedian. He's incredible. He's really worth
Clearly.
a deep dive, I think.
Clearly.
Yeah.
And if he's a communard, which my guess that he might have been.
What is that? Oh, a communist?
No, communard meaning he's a denizen of the marketplace, not the church, not the cathedral, or not the. In other words,
man of the commons.
Yeah, he's like, if he's on the flagstone, he's on the cobblestones. That's where it's all. And if that's true, then maybe what he's done is, in my moments, what I've tried to do from time to time, which is, at the end of the day, despite all evidence persuasive to the contrary, risk it all and trust the audience.
Yeah.
By which I mean, don't occupy every point of view. Occupy faithfully the view that denigrates the old, and then allow and plead for the audience to realize that you're trying to articulate this so it can be more visible, not so that you can banish it.
That's a special kind of vulnerability where you risk having your message misconstrued.
Surely.
That's risking it all.
It is.
And in some ways you have to do that if you're going to be true to your message, because your message isn't a message,
Right.
except in the sense that it's a correspondence.
Yeah. I think it saves him from being a messenger, actually.
Yeah.
Not a phrase that I like to apply to the artistic undertaking at all.
Yeah.
When you're a messenger, you're hell bent on being understood.
Yes.
And oftentimes the message is the first casualty of your insistence on being taken at face value. So, and I'm reminded, John Berger, the English art critic and writer and so forth, novelist towards the end of his life, just died a few years ago. Okay, I'll trade you Lou Reed or Jacques Brel for John Berger then. Have a look. But
same syllable, same initials, JB's.
There you go. Okay.
With James Brown hanging in the background.
Okay, I can't up you on that one. That's good. No, the point I was going to tell you is in one of his books, he makes the observation seemingly on the fly. He said, autobiography seems to me to begin with the feeling that you are alone. And it is an attempt to be understood. But by whom? You are writing to yourself, hoping somebody overhears, no? Okay, so the difference between that autobiography and what we just listened to is the willingness to risk being misunderstood, and the understanding that runs deeper still that he is in some fashion having an ongoing relation with the people he seems to be denigrating. And if all of that's there, and why not? Let's just insist that it's there and that I just didn't see it first out of the gate, but it's dawning on me now.
Well, apparently, I looked at the backstory of this song. He used to perform in old folks' homes. After the war. And so he wrote this based on his, what he would see looking out into the audience.
Right. Sure.
Well, we're past time and I'm out of songs. Oh, I've got a few more, but we can save them for the next time, which I hope.
Let's do that.
I sincerely hope there is one. Yeah. Stephen, thank you so much for coming on Lyrics to Go. My certainty was vindicated that this would be a fantastic conversation. And I love it when I'm right.
I love it when you're right when it comes to me too, Daniel. Thank you so much.
Any last words? I mean, for today, just to be clear.
Just in case. Memorizing something that you admire is a different act from admiring. And I deeply recommend the memorization, particularly of recitation, an old Newfie tradition, for example. That recitation is immaculate baptism for the soul. To submit yourself to the rigors of committing to memory what you claim to admire or hold dear is the real act of holding it dear. So that's what I'd recommend. I've tried to do it myself from time to time, and I can't recommend the diet strongly enough.
Is recitation a particular lyric form?
I don't know that it probably relies on meter and rhyme to some extent, but I think it's more narrative or story driven than it is lyrical in the narrow song sense of the term. Yeah.
Got it.
In other words, how does this go? You'd end up thinking more often than not, because the cadence doesn't automatically bring you to the next phrase.
It's not Barrett's Privateers.
The antelope shook and pitched on her side. How I wish I was in Sherbrooke now. Barrett was smashed like a bowl of eggs, and the main truck carried off both me legs. God damn them all. I was told we'd cruise the seas for American gold. We'd fire no guns, shed no tears. But I'm a broken man on a Halifax pier, the last of Barrett's privateers.
Very good. We could go out with that one, but we won't.
Which every Canadian has memorized, apparently. Right. I haven't, but any bar I've been in on Canada. Anyway, let's call it there. Stephen, Thanks so much. It's always such a joy to talk to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for yours. Okay. Until next time. Bye.
Les vieux ne meurent pas. Ils s'endorment un jour et dorment trop longtemps. Ils se tiennent la main, ils ont peur de se perdre et se perdent pourtant. Et l'autre reste là, le meilleur ou le pire, le doux ou le sévère, cela n'importe pas. Celui des deux qui reste se retrouve en enfer. Vous le verrez peut-être, vous la verrez parfois en pluie et en chagrin, traverser le présent en s'excusant déjà de n'être pas plus loin et fuir devant vous une dernière fois la pendule d'argent qui ronronne au salon, qui dit oui, qui dit non, qui leur dit je t'attends, qui ronronne au salon, qui dit oui, qui dit non, et puis qui nous attend.
Well, it was, you know, nobody's ever wanted to do that with me before. And I realized now that I'd been waiting a long time to be able to wonder about something that wasn't obliged to abstraction in order to be accessible.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the genius of somebody else is a very generous thing.